One of the problems that we've had specifically in our building, which kind of brought home a lesson for me, we've had some problems with water and flooding. It was an ongoing problem with the building and has since been addressed, but we had a great many floods and we learned a lot of lessons. One of which was to keep the computers all up off the floor so that we didn't really lose any data. Those kinds of things, just mechanically keeping things up off the floor, being careful of boxes of paper and files and all those kinds of things. It's amazing how many things you can lose with an inch of water on the floor. It doesn't sound like much of a flood, but believe me, it makes a huge difference to your office. Most recently, one of the things that happened to us involved mold that got into the sheetrock following a flood. And that meant that all of the sheetrock in our office had to be replaced, which was a huge job. Pretty much everybody was sent home for a week because we couldn't work in here with the dust and the noise and everything else. All of our computers, all of our servers, everything were suddenly unplugged, carried off, boxed up, put in separate rooms, and everything was torn apart and covered with an inch of, you know, really nasty dust. And I learned a couple of things. First, I learned that we needed much more than just a good tape backup to put our system back together. That I was glad that I had created an entire database that had specific machines and hardware and monitors and everything else assigned to specific workstations, specific users, and I had all of that stored so that when it came time to put it all back together, I didn't have a hard time figuring out which computer went in front of which user and getting all the things back where they were. It turned out to be a very valuable database. We also did look very seriously at other kinds of disaster recoveries, which means what happens when you just shut your network down for a week? And you know, what kinds of things grow out of that? When you light all the computers back up, it's surprising how many of them don't work the way they used to, just from having been unplugged and carried somewhere and plugged back in again. Maybe all the dust inside the box got shifted around a little bit or something, and things don't always work the way they used to. So there's a certain amount of recovery afterwards that is very time consuming.